nasty and unpleasant personal attacks that he had been getting. And I thought, this is a good guy. He does the right thing. And that's the team I want to be on. Not on the team of the bullies or the people putting out nasty personal abuse, but on the team of people who are focused on delivering for the country.
Let's talk then about what's happened in your job. There was a dramatic event last night. As the business secretary, it seems you removed the chair of the post office after all of the things that have gone wrong. Why did you get Henry Staunton to stand down? What were your concerns?
So when I became business secretary and the post office came to my portfolio, there were three things that I was really focused on. One, get the money out of the door. The last thing I wanted was for people to die without having the compensation.
So the compensation for post office.
Absolutely critical. I talked about it in my conference speech. Kevin Hollenrich, brilliant post office minister. So that's the first thing. Second one was making sure that it was fair, that everything that was happening was fair. So not just getting out money out the door, but that the money was the right amount and what we were doing was fair. But the third one was looking at the governance around the post office. And that is where my deciding that we needed a new chair of the organisation was important. It just wasn't working.
But what was that about? Was that there was a row over post office bonuses being paid during the while the scandal over Horizon was still going on? What was it about?
There were various disagreements within the board. And when I looked at it, I thought that a change of personnel was what was required. I don't want to do HR on live TV. These are human beings that we're talking about. It is very difficult to be asked to stand down from a position. But I decided that given all of the difficulties the post office is having, it's not just about Horizon, it's about the entire business model, how we make it work, that we needed someone who could chair a board that was able to deal with these things effectively.
This whole saga, though, has been a complete mess. Successive governments have failed to grip it or even to understand what we now see as the scale of the problem. And people are angry. And one of our viewers, John Suffolk, has been in touch with us this morning. And he's actually suggested if Mr. Staunton resigns, shouldn't Kemi Badenoch also resign to be accountable for everything that has gone wrong at the post office?
No, I don't think so. First of all, I don't think people really understand exactly what the structure of the post office is. I am the post office's sole shareholder, so the shareholder resigning doesn't make sense. I actually have constituents who've been affected by the scandal. They didn't come to me until after the ITV drama. It's very interesting how a drama can suddenly bring attention to all that's been happening. When I made a speech at a conference referencing the Horizon scandal and talking about what we were doing, it wasn't covered. Instead, people again were talking about, oh, is this a speech for the leadership and so on. People don't focus on the work we're doing. There's just too much time spent on tittle-tattle and gossip. We've been working very hard. We put a bill through before that ITV drama was aired in December, making sure that people can get their money and get it quickly.
Just one last thing on that. Would you set a specific deadline to get it done? You say you've been working on it for ages. People must get their compensation. We asked the Prime Minister a couple of weeks ago if he would set a firm deadline. He wouldn't, would you?
The Prime Minister has said that we're not setting a deadline. We're going to move as quickly as possible. There are always issues with setting deadlines. I say this as well with free trade agreements. You put a date on, people rush, they get things wrong. We are moving as quickly as we can. I promise we couldn't move any faster than we already have been. There is an inquiry that's ongoing. There's some stuff that has to happen with Fujitsu as well. So there are multiple moving parts. And setting a deadline is not the priority. Getting the money out, getting fair compensation, sorting out the governance of the post office is the critical thing.
OK, Kemi Badenoch, there's so much else we could have talked about, but it's great to have you with us this morning on this day when we've been hearing so much from you, our viewers and members of the public. So let us know what you think of what you've been hearing. You can send me an email, kuenssberg@bbc.co.uk, or if you're social media inclined, you can use the hashtag #BBCLauraK. So what did my trio at the desk think of what voters have told us this week and of what Kemi Badenoch had to say? Now, Nadine, as you said at the top, it's very clear there's a lot of disillusionment with the Conservatives, but it's very clear also that people who are switching their votes are doing so because they think Boris Johnson let them down, and also because Liz Truss blew up the economy. Now, you nominated Liz Truss and you backed Boris Johnson, so it's on you, isn't it?
What a lot of people also say is that
you don't really detect much faith that a new operation in number 10 would transform lives. There is, though, remember, probably about 10 months to go. Well, Kemi Badenoch, the Business Secretary, was watching that along with us. She's here in the studio for the first time. A very warm welcome to you. When you hear voters talking about the Prime Minister, giving their honest view, he's not strong enough, he's out of touch, a nice guy, but weak. Even Conservative voters aren't convinced by him. So how do you address them? What would you say to those voters?
It was really interesting watching that focus group. I think three things jumped out at me. Well, actually, a lot jumped out, but three main things. The first is that people clearly want to see a lot more hope and optimism about the country.
Problems are not matched by the scale of the sort of ability of our politicians. Just before we move on, Nadine, there's a report in the paper we must ask you about. You received £17,000 in severance pay, which was a mistake. Have you given it back?
Well, I only saw the email on Friday night when I got home, but that means now everybody knows I'm not 49.
But are you going to give it back?
Yeah, I'll pay it back on Monday morning.
There
are no details in the email how to do that, but I will, I'm sure, find out. I was gutted.
There we go. All three of you, thank you very much for now. Well, the picture from voters that we spoke to for Rishi Sunak wasn't actually due if he was in number 10.
Knock heads together, keep people disciplined, keep people focused, their eye on the ball, which is delivering for the British people.
And Luke, who would you have? I mean, once upon a time you were a Conservative advisor before you became a pollster and political researcher, but who would you choose?
Well, and obviously I'd have to say Nicky Morgan for that, because she
yes,
used to be my boss.
But former Cabinet Minister who was here last week.
She was. But no, there was someone in the group, and I'm going to steal their answer actually, which was, it was David Attenborough, 30 years younger. And I just think that would be perfect.
Of names. You know, we did hear today such lack of conviction about our leaders that we have, and then actually quite excitement and enthusiasm about other people. What is it about this generation of leaders from time to time? And sometimes it sort of blows up.
I think it's so... Oh, sorry.
No, but why do you think that authenticity is not always something that people look at you as a class, as a political class, and not being personal, and think that you don't have?
It was really interesting going from having nothing to do with politics to suddenly being launched into that, and how that mistrust came overnight. The very perception that you're in politics and all of a sudden you can't be trusted comes from this long-standing feeling that they can't be. And I think what's really important, because I know so many politicians across all parties, and they're really decent people, and they're all in it to make a change. Well, most of being sensitive yet firm, and just having loads of really good ideas.
Nadine, then, if it was somebody outside politics in number 10, who would it be?
They want to be able to, really simply imagine, can I be their mate? Can I trust them?
And that's why people voted for Boris Johnson, because they saw the man, the zip wire, the man who, I think in his own words, is not perfect. They saw the genuine article, and that's why they voted for him. And he was authentic.
And then we heard from our groups how many of them were then disappointed with what happened after that. But all three of you, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us this morning. It's been great to have you. Thank you to the panel